everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and today I'm going to share this really cool card that my son and I made together recently. If you missed it, you can go over to my Facebook page and check out a card that the Rainbow Stamper guy made. We actually made two cards. I don't know where his first card is. It's around here somewhere. I think he's so proud of it, he kept it. But we also made a second card because he was wanting to make a card that had a soccer goal and the soccer ball going into it. So we did use a wobbler for this card, but someone gave the idea of making a slider card, and I thought what a great idea that would be. So I actually am going to attempt to make a slider card. I have not made one previously with this. I have kind of the idea of what I want to do, but to make this card, we'll do this one as well. This is really, really simple. What you're going to use is you're going to need the For the Win stamp set to be able to make the card. There's all different kinds of sports in here that you could do. And then what we're using is, oh my goodness, I completely misplaced the pile of framelits. Where is it? Here it is. This is from Under the Sea. So you can use this cool, it's kind of like a fishing net or a piece of decor. But what I did was I pulled this out at the last minute to make a soccer goal, and I thought it worked out really well. So this is from the Under the Sea framelits. This is actually in the annual catalog, so you can get this, or maybe you might already have it, to make your soccer goal. Now that I'm thinking of it, you probably could even use it somewhat as a basketball net. You could use do a basketball card with the basketball net, maybe. I did actually do a basketball, and what I did was I used terracotta tile ink along with Versamark and clear embossing powder and made it, I think it looks very basketball-like because of the color. You could also use the terracotta tile just to color it in a little bit more, so it'll be a little bit more of actually like basketball-y color, but I think that turned out pretty cool. I did already ahead of time, just to save some time, I will need to do one more. I did black heat emboss a soccer ball, and then another one where I had it here just a second ago and things just seem to vanish on my desk, but I did also do a baseball, and I did that with silver embossing powder, so that looks pretty cool. If I happen to find it, I will add it. You're also going to need 2 pennies for this if we're going to make a slider card. I decided to grab I believe this is the classic label punch to make the slider portion. And then I'm going to show you a couple other things you're going to need. So as I said, we're going to do both. We will make his traditional card, and then we're going to attempt to make a slider card. So you're definitely going to need some foam strips to hold this up for the slider card, or dimensionals, your choice. Foam strips are just a little bit easier in my opinion because they take up more space. You don't have to do as much with them. So I am going to grab a second piece, and I probably should have cut this the other way, so I'll pull one out. But I am going to need a second panel of cardstock for my base. I decided to go with, we wanted to do the sky and the grass, so I am using Seaside Spray. So I'm going to cut that, and then I have another piece, and I got to tell you, yesterday I was trying to line it up and everything, and I think he did such a good job of cutting the grass into the correct shape that I probably should have left it alone and or paid better attention to how he did it, because his looks way better than mine. I think mine's a little too perfect. Oh, and just quickly, I found the baseball. So there's the baseball. The only one I haven't done yet is the golf ball and the football, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to do those. So again, you will need foam adhesive strips. So what we'll do first is we will stick with his card. And I also used just some little strips that I had left from when I trimmed my paper up. So these are just basic black strips. That's how I made the kind of gold frame. There probably should be maybe a piece that goes across the bottom, but I wasn't really sure because I'm not really very athletic, so I'm not really all up on sports and how things should or shouldn't look. I'm going to go ahead and cut my second piece of, not designer series paper, of paper for, just going to score this at 4 1/4 for my other base card, and we're going to cut it at 5 1/2. So this will be my other base card. Here is my other grass piece. I did emboss this, and I did one ahead of time, but since we're doing both, I need to do the second one. I did emboss this with the Subtles embossing folder. So if you're going to do that, because we do have these new embossing folders that are a little bit thicker. So what I usually do is I go to my plain Big Shot platform, if you still have it, or if you have the one with all the tabs, you're going to go to a flat tab. I'm just going to put my piece of paper in there. I'm going to put my folder with the paper in it, and then you only need one embossing, or one cutting plate, I should say. And you want to feed this so the opening goes in, so you don't want to put so much pressure on the bend part. So I'm just going to crank this through real quick. And voila, you have a nice embossed piece that kind of looks like grass because it has some texture to it. So for the Rainbow Stampers card, he made his pretty simply. You're just going to fold this in half. I'm going to just burnish this with my bone folder. And see how his piece matched so much nicer. I'm going to have to trim a little bit of this off because he really did a good job with his estimation of what we needed paper-wise. So I'm going to trim a little bit off here. Bring that to a point. Yeah, hopefully that's good. Let's see. Nope, should have done it more on an angle. Oh well, you know what? This is going to be how it has to be because I don't want you to have to watch that again. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just cut off a little bit of this here. This will be behind. Like the pitch of the field, you know, now that we're thinking of it, we could even do one this way because it probably would go better that way, but oh well. So I'm going to go like this. And I already did cut one of these out ahead of time. So I found that, which way was it that I went? The net would be better this way. Okay, you could also put an adhesive sheet on the back of this so it's a little bit easier to stick. If you didn't do that like I didn't, what I did was I used my silicone craft mat and I used, this is my very sticky sponge, and I take a little bit of liquid glue, the Tombow liquid glue, and kind of dip it and then just put this on. You don't want to really press hard because you don't want it to stick to the mat and then you have to pull it off. So I went like that. Move this over. And I'm going to pop this down real quick. Alright, so this glue is clearly at the end. I have this in my Tipsy, but I think this one is empty. So put this here, just like that, and make sure I have this correctly. Put this here, like that. So then what I did is I took my my strip. This is just a 1/2 inch strip, and I kind of cut one down so I could have this short piece here. But I also did cut it in half. I cut it in half, and then when I got to the top, I kind of angled it in case I needed to have them curve together. So there's one, and we can trim that off a little bit. And then this one I did the same thing. So I kind of cut this so it would look like the I guess it's PVC, and I know theirs is white, but I kind of thought black would give a little bit nicer of a look. So put that here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of eyeball this. So if this goes like that, I'm going to trim that here. And then this piece might fit under. I'm just going to trim this off just a little bit. All right, so same thing again. I'm going to just take my liquid glue. If there's any left in this one, there's a little bit. And I'm going to put this down like that. And then we wanted this to go over that way, so I'm going to put this here. Good. And we're going to place this just kind of like that. Probably could have caused a little bit more of a curve, but let me back this up just a smidge. There you go. Just like that. Okay. And then I did add a little MVP, but you could kind of dress this up however you wanted. So there is that. And then one other thing I have is, and I will use my, I'm going to do a regular, I'm going to stamp one more soccer ball for this. That way I can use the shiny embossed one for the slider card. So we're just going to pop this on. I'm going to grab my Memento ink. Make sure it's super duper black, because he was very quick to inform me that it had to be a black soccer ball. And I kind of thought, well, can it be anything else? There's lots of colored soccer balls. He's like, no, it has to be black. So I'm going to actually cut this just a teeny bit bigger. want to see, because I want to see, I do have wobblers, but they're just a little bit, yes, that's perfect. They're just a little bit large, so I actually ended up trimming them down. I did this ahead of time this time to save you the agony of not having to watch me cut the wobbler if you missed that in the other video. And line that up just like that. Okay, and then we're just, all you have to do is just peel the back of this off. So it has a hard side and like a softer side. So you see they will wobble pretty well. So we'll do that one like that. And then you can see, oh, well, you do have to make sure you push it down before you go wobbling it, Rachel. So I'm just going to press that down. And then you can see you have your little wobbler card. So you could put any sentiment on here. Goal, it could be birthday, whatever the case may be. My son left his blank. I just added this MVP just to show you guys. So pretty simple. Now, hopefully the next one will go as well as this one has gone. So for my next card, my thoughts are, what I want to do is make a slider card. Now, we used to have this really cool slider die. So if you still have that, you could use that. It would make it incredibly easy. But if you don't, here's what you can do. Hopefully, we'll see. So what I have here is my base. This is Seaside Spray. So you have your base card. This is a standard base card. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then I have another panel that is 4 by 5 1/4 because you need something to bump it up so things can slide behind it. I also have my wrong cut piece of grass because it's a little bit too big. So what I would say is if you wanted it, we're going to have it go across. So I'm going to trim this one. I'm going to hopefully trim this one a little better than the last one. So if I were trimming this, and again, I'm just kind of like an eyeballer. So let's see, if we were to, where's my pencil? If we were to, we would say we would kind of want it to go across this way. So let's see if somehow I can cut a little bit of that off. There we go. That's a little better. This is a little bit of a hard edge, so I'm going to just trim this down by hand just a smidge. That way you have a more natural curve of your hill. All right, so there's that. So now what we have to do is you kind of just have to decide for your layout. So here is your base. We're just going to lay these all together, and then we're going to do it. That's why I tried to pre-cut some of this so it'll be easier. And there's a little bit of pencil. Let me just erase that. So if we have our grass, which is going to need to be trimmed just a smidge, we have our net. Let me make sure I have this lined up correctly. Our net's going to be here. So theoretically, we would want our punch to go like here. So it's going to go back. Okay. So we're going to say, I'm going to kind of just eyeball this. I'm going to put a little pencil mark here. And then we are going to go under here. So here's what I'm going to do. Again, this is the Rachel way, not the mathematical way. So I'm going to try my best. I'm going to line this up, and I don't know if it's going to fit because it's on an angle. Let's see if we can get any of this to go. All right, so I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to see if there's a way I can make this line up to that way. It's a little too, oh, if you go in the backwards way, which is not ideal, but we're going to do what we're going to do. So I'm just kind of lining this up. I don't really want it to go fully. It'd be better if I could get it to go down, but this is just a little too wide. So if you have a die, it probably will make this world simpler. So if you still happen to have that die, I'm going to go like that. So it's going to kind of be a little bit of a crazy tract, but your penny is still smaller, so you should still be okay, even in the bigger spot here. So if you have that die, you could certainly use it, or maybe you have some other sort of a die that will work, a slider card die. I'm going to erase this pencil mark. This one I think I cut through somehow. Okay, so what we're going to do is this. So when you have a slider card, you need to have it up, basically, so it'll stay away. So I'm going to use foam strips. You could also use dimensionals. That'll be perfectly acceptable. Now that I think about it, I wonder if I shouldn't use just dimensionals instead, because sometimes if this isn't going to be high enough, no, that might be okay. You can't use them intermingled is what I'm getting at, because dimensionals and foam strips, and I'm going to hold this up so you can see, foam strips are actually a little bit higher. So if you put one up versus the other together, they're going to be a little wonky. So you either want to stick with a foam strip or dimensional. So dimensionals are not as high, so I'm going to go with the foam strip. So I'm going to put foam strip all across the back. You do want to try to avoid being anywhere near where the penny is going to be because it could impede your flow. So I'm going to add this here. And I'm going to bring this because I do need this to go all the way. That way it stays up very uniformly. So put this little piece here. I'm just going to snip this. And I'm going to add in just a few more little spots just because I want to make sure that it stays up where I want it. So I'm going to put one here. You could also use, if you have like 3M, and I am putting it back here because I don't want it to go too far back. So I am intentionally putting this piece here. That way the penny can only go so far. You could use like a 3M tape if you have that as well. I'm going to put one more piece here. So I'm just going to make sure this is all stays on here super well. Okay, just like that. So now this is going to be where it goes towards your goal. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of decorating ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my grass on. Just with some liquid glue. That way in case I need to move it, I can. Oops, got a little glue smudges there. And you're also going to remember we're going to need to put our, I'll just trim this little piece off here. We're going to need to put our goal up. Which way is it? That way it has room to slide. Okay, so we're going to actually put, for this one, we're going to add the goal post part all the way around. So I'm going to just trim this kind of in half. So if you do have thinner strips, you could use 1/4 inch strips as well. And we're going to put this on here. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to just put some glue. And then the cool part is we're going to put foam strip on here on the back. So even if a little piece kind of sticks or you have glue, it's going to be fine because we're going to be able to cover it up. So we're going to put this on here. I know that's not like super duper on there, but we're going to clip that together. Take this and snip. Okay, we're going to do the same on this one. So we're going to glue this here. And we're going to pop the whole thing up. That way it has something to slide into. So this is definitely going to be a, all right, I need to move on from this one because it's almost empty. It's going to be a little bit thicker of a card. So you're probably going to either need to add extra postage to this or potentially make this one of the cards that you might hand deliver. Okay, so now since I have this flipped over, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our foam strip. And it's going to stick well since everything is bent. I am going to suggest that we trim this instead of bending it so we don't make this warped. So we'll just stick this on the back. We'll stick this on the back. It's going to be hidden, so it's going to work out just fine. I'm going to trim that up just a little bit short. Okay. I do want to, just for the sake of holding it up, I'm going to put a bottom piece on here. Obviously, we can't put one in the front because then it's not going to work. So for the keeping it away from the black, that way it kind of goes together, I'm going to use white. Sorry, realized I was walking away. I'm going to use white for this part so it kind of blends in a little bit. So same thing again, I'm just going to take a leftover strip that I have and just cut it in half. So this ends up kind of being like a 1/4 inch strip. So we'll put this here. Just that way it kind of blends with it. I'm going to actually lift this little piece up just for a moment. And put a little glue on this. This is way bigger than I need, but we can always cut. So this is basically just giving us enough area that we can glue this up so it stays up. And it has somewhere for the ball to slide into. So press this down now. I'm going to just kind of smear this glue around so it all stays put. And then I'm going to add my last foam strip down here. And we're going to trim this piece off. And this one is going to trim right here. Okay, so now we have our raised goal. So it's going to be raised enough that hopefully, and I'm going to just take this while I have it and just kind of give it a little bit of a bend. So hopefully this will raise enough that our soccer ball is going to float in. So we will find out momentarily. I have extremely sticky fingers, but we're going to have to just go with those for now. So let's see. I do have my, what did I do with it? My soccer ball. Lord knows, well, we may have to stamp another one. No, I got it. So we were using our shiny soccer ball for that one. All right, so what we're going to do now is we have to put the penny on this. So you do want to make sure that this sticks really, really well. I would suggest liquid glue or Tombow or some sort of a really good adhesive because you want the penny to stick to the soccer ball. So I'm going to put this here for a moment, and just for the sake of being extra cautious, I'm going to put, oh, hopefully that stayed in the center. I'm going to put a punch or two on top of it just to hold it in place. So the other penny, what this one's going to get is actually a dimensional. Okay, so normally I would say put 2 dimensionals on here, but since we want this to slide under the goal net, we're going to just do 1. So I have 1 dimensional here. And what we're going to do is, sometimes with these, depending on the shape of them, like you can see, this isn't going to flow really nicely because it's a little bit more of a square surface. So what we're going to do is, I should have done this ahead of time. And I'm going to pull this and see. So what we're going to do is we're going to round off the edges of this. So try to stick it to the same one so I have it stuck on there. So now this is a little bit more round. So as you can see, it should flow up and down a little bit easier. Okay, so that's going to be our bottom part. And we have our penny stuck fairly well. So these are going to end up sticking together. All right, so here's where we're going to hopefully see if the magic happens. Let's see. So if we put this is going to go here. Kind of looks like they're kicking uphill. Maybe you need to even out your grass. And depending on what you're doing, you could put it so it goes straight in. But I was trying to shoot for something different. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, because you still should be able to get this underneath. Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to put our base down. I have Tombow all over my fingers, so pulling this off you would think would be really easy because everything is sticking to me. So I'm just taking off all the release paper from my foam strips. Okay, and I'm not going to press really hard because you do want to still be able to adjust this if needed. So I'm just kind of resting it on there. Okay, we're going to slide our penny. It should slide in here. Oops. Come on, penny. Don't make me look bad now. Okay, so we have our penny. So this is kind of just still temporary. I'm not trying to stick it in terrifically hard. I'm going to move this down here to the end. And I'm going to line my penny up and press the soccer ball. Take the release paper off. Nope, that helps. Take off the release paper. And you kind of can look and see if you have it lined up. All right, so once you feel like it's moving, okay, you're going to press really hard just to get them to stick together. Okay, so we're still, so far so good. So now all we have to do is put this on so we know it's going to slide in. Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Okay, so now we're going to pull our, oops, release paper off. Do want to make sure, again, we put this on with a combination of glue, so it should stay on super duper well, but you also have to remember it does take a little minute for it to dry. But we're going to pull off our release paper off of our foam strips, and let's see how this goes. Okay, now that we have it, I'm going to press really hard to make sure it sticks. Oh, so it's stuck there in the corner a little bit, so that's why I wanted to have that. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to press all of my card down very delicately because I have extremely sticky fingers. You do want to make sure your goal that you really give it a good press. All right, so there you go. Slider soccer goal card. So we have to figure out something to add to the front of this. So what I think we're going to do, and let me just grab these little things so I can get this out of the way, clean this up. So we have a few things. It would be awesome if somebody would have had goal, because that's what my son said. You know, that's what you have to scream when you're at soccer is goal. We could put I'm your #1 fan and a little trophy down here, which would be really cute. I did stamp one of these onto, what did I use? I believe I used Pineapple Punch, and then I used the gold Delicata ink. So we could put this down here with I'm your #1 fan. Oh, that's really cute. Maybe we could do that. That sounds like a good one. I'm your #1 fan. So you could also put, if you were like making this for someone, you could also do Go Team or It's Game Day, whatever the case may be. But we're going to definitely use the trophy. And I'm your #1 fan. Pull this one off. All right, and we're just going to grab, I have just some Scrap Whisper White here. Now, if you know your team has a specific color, you could do this in those colors to kind of bring that color to it. So I'm going to try to keep this up here. That way I can just trim it out of a rectangle and then we'll add the little trophy to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Poppy Parade, and I think I did Blueberry Bushel because you could do this as a Messi card, if you know who he is, a soccer player. I'm not really 100% sure what team he plays on, but my niece talks about him a lot. So we'll go with I'm your #1, and we'll do the fan in blue. My son's team is actually called the Highlighters because they wear the brightest neon yellow you have ever seen in all your days. So you certainly can't miss them when they're on the field, at least. So we'll go with that. But it is fun, though, to be able to yell Go Highlighters. That's pretty cool. So we have I'm your #1 fan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my trimmer and just trim this out in a rectangle-esque shape. Bring it a little bit close. And then we will add the little trophy to it. Okay. So you could, if you wanted to, you could round these edges out. You could trim them. You could rip them a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just trim it a little bit closer because I like things that are cut close. Kind of like my card videos, right, guys? I know no one's watching with me, but I get so used to talking to people sometimes that that's just kind of the way I go. So we're going to go with I'm your #1 fan. And then we'll put the trophy on here. Oh, this is going to be so adorable. I'm just going to put this on with a, my glycerin, a mini glue dot. Just like that. And we'll put these on with just some glue dots as well. Oh, my fingers, everything's sticking to them. So I'm going to have to go back to my original plan, which is Tombow liquid glue. because otherwise everything is going to stick to me and this card video is never going to be over. All right, let me pop this on here. Absolutely adorable. So there you go. I'm your #1 fan. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you would like to get the supplies to make these cards, I should say, you can go to my online store, rachthestamper.stampinup.net. Super fun. I hope you enjoyed the cards we made today. Again, this was the one my son made the other day. This is our little slider card that we made. If you do happen to have the slider, it was actually from a bumblebee, which they had the bee that went around in the circle, and then there was like a half arc. That would work really, really well for this. Sadly, I sold mine, and see, this goes to show you why you should keep all the stuff that you buy, because then you would have it to use. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will put all the measurements of this on my blog, which is rachthestamper.com. If you have any questions or suggestions or anything else you'd like to say, I'd love to hear it. You can leave me a comment. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.